Hello, everyone. Good evening and good day. I am June Marfori, and I'm an executive coach, a consultant, a trainer, and facilitator, as well as a director of POWERinU Training and Coaching Philippines. And in behalf of POWERinU, I welcome you to this complimentary webinar entitled Gratitude at the Workplace. We have so much in store for you tonight, so I'm just going to go ahead and jump into it and introduce our two speakers who will grace our evening. They are individuals whom I will introduce, and they will share their wisdom and vast experience around corporate life and especially around gratitude. Our first guest is Charlie Villaseñor. Charlie is known as a supply chain procurement and logistics management icon in Asia for his advancement of ethics, excellence, and e-enablement in the supply management field. He is the Chief Executive Officer of Transprocure Corporation and the Chairman of the Procurement and Supply Institute of Asia, or PASIA, as well as the PASIA Shared Services. He has extensive affiliations internationally, and he even holds key positions in various associations. Among others, and just to name a few, he's a chairman of the Trade Industry and Trade Committee of the Management Association of the Philippines, or MAP as it is known. He's a board member and past treasurer of the International Federation of Purchasing and Supply Management in Finland. He's also a board member of the United Port Users Committee based out of Manila, past chairman of the board of the Philippine Council of Associations and Association Executives, international member of the Institute of Supply Chain Management of USA, international member Association for Supply Chain Management of the United States of America, and a UNICEF trained and resource member on vaccine immunization supply chain. Let us all welcome Charlie. Charlie, if you would be kind enough to turn on your video so that we can all see you, even as we're introducing our next speaker. Welcome, Charlie.
It's good to be here, June. Thank you very much for the invitation.
All right, Charlie, hold on for a bit because we'll get back to you really shortly. We'd like to introduce our second guest, and she is no other than POWERinU's very own Penny Bongato. Penny Bongato is a motivational speaker, a success trainer, a career transition, life and team coach, a human resource professional, educator, and part of LinkedIn's top 100 Filipinos to follow in 2019 to 2021, and top 100 influential Filipino women to follow in 2021 to 2022. She's also an author of 4 books: Career Shift, Follow Your Passion, Ask for a Bigger Blanket, also entitled Wag Mamaluktot Kung Maikli Ang Kumot, Forward Shift, Managing Your Life in the Time of a Pandemic. Her 4th book, which she co-authored with 29 other international best-selling women authors, was launched just last December, and it is in fact called The Book on Gratitude, Healing the World with Gratitude. It has also joined Amazon's international bestseller list. So let us all welcome Penny Bongato. Hi, Penny.
Hi, June. Hi, Charlie. And hello to everyone who is in this webinar tonight and this morning. Thank you.
Yeah, we're all very excited to hear about what both Charlie and Penny have to share because of their extensive experiences and because this is actually their passion, their mission, their advocacy. So I'm going to go straight ahead and ask these questions. Penny, if you don't mind, I'm just going to go alphabetical. So I'll go with Charlie first. All right, it's C. Okay. As we know, the beauty will always come last. I'm not going to preface what the first word or adjective is to describe Charlie. So Charlie, here's the first question for you, and I'm going to show it. Sorry, I missed this slide. There they are. I think they're more telegenic than photogenic. So, Charlie, I'll throw this question. How do you personally define or describe gratitude in the workplace? And if you can, what do you think is its role in the workplace? Charlie?
June, thank you very much, June, for the question. Maybe I could start off and better answer this if I actually flash on my slides.
Oh, okay.
So, the topic of gratitude has been really growing. But for the attendees over here, let me share with you a little bit on how I see gratitude from a personal perspective and from a professional executive as well. Next slide, please. There's a lot of things to be grateful for. It's good to be here in this session today. I wouldn't be here if I actually succumbed to death last 2021. In 2021, I've been in this business of pioneering a lot of supply chain business in the country and worldwide, and I almost died because of one of the things that I love to advocate, which is actually better supply chain. In 2021, I was enjoying life. I was just going through with the pandemic like everybody else, and surprisingly, I got COVID. That was the last week of March. It was actually Holy Week, so I actually have to turn over all of the things that I have to leave to my family. I actually said goodbye to everybody because the doctor said I'm very much in a critical situation. There were no hospitals that were accepting me, in spite of my numerous contacts in the industry. I share this slide for one reason. First, I actually suffered the difficulties of facing the COVID saga and scenario. The first place that I actually got into was a parking lot. There were around 300 people in the parking lot with oxygens, installed in their cars. And I almost died. I stayed into the hospital for 1 month. And after staying in the hospital for 1 month, and before I left home, I really said goodbye to many of my loved ones. And I made sure that there's already going to be a successor of me in the many organizations and companies that I actually run. But true enough, there's so much things to be grateful. I was able to survive. There were a lot of stories regarding this, in spite of the difficulty that was actually facing. Surprisingly, there were a lot of people that I came into life working in the workplaces that I didn't know was caring and was able to help me survive the difficult pandemic. The pictures below was probably 5 to 6 months after I actually regained my bearings back. So I took a vacation and I thought to myself that, wow, life is not really a promised journey. Life can always be taken at any time, of our lives. So my perspective actually changed. Next slide, if you can actually share it. For the last 21 years, I left corporate life. I used to work and had a lot of supply chain organizations with companies like Chevron, Coca-Cola, and 3M. I led many e-commerce companies, including the largest e-commerce companies in the country, owned by the 6 largest conglomerates. So I actually thought that after doing a lot of corporate work, a way of me giving back to the society and to the country is to actually establish an institute and a BPO services company. And supply chain is one of the top issues that many of our lives are enduring into. Not only lives, but also, I would say, companies. You either survive or succeed on how you actually, execute the supply chain. And there are a few things that you need to really get to know. So I've actually given my life for 21 years doing this until now. And next slide, John, if you don't mind. It's very difficult to really run supply chain organizations of many companies. That's where the tension is. They only get to be known as part of supply chain when there is a big issue that is known to everybody. In providing services in supply chain, we also meet a lot of challenges. Even our employees got some challenges, mental health wise, and many financial, and all of those types of things when the pandemic actually struck us. I saw one thing when I was traveling in the US in 2019. One of the things that I found out is one company that I think has done it pretty right. The name of the company was Chick-fil-A. And Chick-fil-A was, I was surprised because I was being toured in Atlanta to all of their operations. So one Monday, I saw people praying. I didn't know they were praying. I thought this was a big town hall meeting. But I actually got into it and stay for an hour and a half. I realized that they have a very different culture. So when I went back to my own company, when we were growing so fast, and I realized that there's so much things to unshamefully copy to what they were actually doing. So we recalibrated the way we actually get to do things. We redefined our corporate goal. And I thought that our goal was really to honor God in all of the works that we do. And we actually have to reintegrate our values, wherein we really focus on what we believe organizations should be doing, which is ethics, excellence, and enablement. So we recrafted our mission, we redefined our vision, and just to share that we coined our program actually called Gratitude. It was not really meant for this. I did not know that we're going to have a session like this at this very moment. So this program is called Gratitude. So we spend an hour and a half every Friday from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock simply to praise the Lord or our God. And we are actually of different denominations or groups. So we have born again, we have Catholic, we have Muslim, and we have Iglesia ni Cristo. And we don't really mind. You know, we try to level the playing field and say, okay, we have our own God, so let's pray together. Let's put our concerns in front of the table and let's learn. So when we say learn, we take also the time to harness our understanding of different core values from simple things as loyalty, honesty, optimism, passion, respect, and all of those types of things. So we maximize this one hour and a half. So a lot of companies have seen this. A lot of companies have told us that they wanted to join us. So we're really thinking hard on how we are able to execute and extend this to many companies who are waiting for our Go Signal to join it. So this is how we define gratitude, June. Just to make sure. It's a little bit lengthy, but I'm sorry to actually get from my, from that particular information or position, but I think it's worth sharing that we are still work in progress as we actually get to do this. Thank you, June.
Well, thank you, Charlie. And before I throw that question to Penny, I must say it's an amazing story. I guess, Charlie, when you kind of recap, it's your near brush with death that has actually amplified your sense of gratitude for, I guess you might call, a second lease on life, and really has given you the opportunity to be thankful to be here. And now, based on that personal experience, including what you've seen, in Chick-fil-A and other areas around the world, you're seeing that there is, in fact, a place in the corporate workplace. So thank you, Charlie. That's a wonderful sharing. Thank you so much. Penny, I'll turn over to you now and ask you the same question. How do you define or describe gratitude? And what do you think the role of gratitude is in the workplace?
Okay, thank you, June. And can you go to the next slide? So I define gratitude as gratitude, as we know, is a positive. It's one of the many positive emotions similar to joy and love. And it's really focusing on what is good in our lives, looking at what is happening well, because there's always a positive side to things, a positive side to what we experience, even though life throws us, rocks and big rocks and boulders, and, there is always something good that will come out of it. And, and the workplace, it's not always positive. It's not always positive when your boss tells you that you made a mistake, when the company is downsizing and you are hit by the restructuring. It's not always good news that you will hear. And you might ask me, how can you be positive, or how can you be grateful that you lost your job? How can you be grateful that your boss tells you that you didn't do a good job? Well, be grateful that you're here.
Yeah.
Charlie almost lost his life.
Right.
But you're here. You are living today. I know many people are suffering from mental health. Ay nako, it's been an issue. And I also teach in the university. And I have one student who came up to me and said, I'm having mental health issues. And wag naman sana, no, that other people that other people are thinking of, doing what shouldn't be done. But there's so many things that we experience that is positive that we can turn into something positive. So focus on the good and be thankful for what you have. Be thankful for what you have at the moment. So June, can you go to the next slide?
Sure. Hold on. Okay.
So how can gratitude help you and others? So I looked at some research and I found this, and cultivating gratitude, particularly in the workplace, if you will see, can help. I think it's on the right side of this picture, this tree picture. It can help boost motivation and performance. So it's very important that we are grateful, because if you're positive about today, there's no way but be up and about. Once again, it's not always positive things that may happen to you, but it's how you take these things in your life that will make a difference. It builds character, and it can make you happier. Who doesn't want to be happy, right? We
Right.
all want to be happy. Okay, back to you, June.
So, Penny, before I go off to the next question, because I have a few questions that I can also ask that were sent in advance. So, Penny, I have an interesting thought I want to grab from your presentation. And you just said that, in fact, in the workplace, it's not always positive. So, I guess that is taking cognizance of the fact that not every day you might find reasons to be grateful, because in fact you might be having a bad day, so to speak.
Mhm.
So maybe later on we'll talk about tips and pointers, but here's a very quick question I thought I'll throw to you, as someone who has been in the HR practice for quite some time, and you did make mention of mental health. It says, in a fast-paced world that we live in today, where we are frequently physically drained, how can we help our staff embrace and still manifest gratitude? And as I'm asking that, Charlie, you might want to think about that as well. You might want to throw in an answer. Penny?
When, how do I say it? Uh, every action that we do is a choice that we make. So being physically drained is a choice that you make. So do you always say yes to everything that's thrown at you? Do your staff take everything that you make them do? And do you provide your staff some leeway to do the things that they need to do, and prioritize? So as a manager, you're also responsible for the 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 well-being of your staff. So I would say that, how do you find gratitude in that area is to be able to really discern also what you are asked to do if you are the staff, and be able to negotiate, because if you just keep quiet, you'll always end up like that.
Mhm.
So be able to stand up and say your mind, and be grateful that you are able to say your mind. If you just keep
Okay.
quiet, nothing will happen to you.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that, Penny. Charlie, any thoughts on that question?
Just a few things, June. The workplace today is very different, probably during our early days, June. You gotta take it because that's really the reality.
Indeed. Yeah.
Inflation is high, interest rates are high, so the business is getting a lot of pressure, and competition is going to be in the forefront of the business. There's going to be more chaos. You have to realize that things like chat GBT are coming our way. It's going to replace us. It's going to replace business. So a lot of modifications are happening right now. But I think it's really important for every employee of organizations to realize that first, we have to be grateful that we have our jobs that we are holding on to right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
I think that's a realization that a lot of people doesn't have jobs. A lot of countries
Yeah.
are suffering with depression. The fact that we have a job, I think it's really quite very amazing to recognize that such a blessing is still with us. And not only that, it's not only the job, but the skills that we actually get to develop with our current employers, because these skills are going to take us going forward. But one of the things that I could really share with you that will really allow you to overcome the challenges of the workplace that is so fast moving right now is to be able to get what I call intimacy, professional intimacy with the company, with the boss, and the various stakeholders that you actually have. Without stakeholder intimacy, you are actually running blind in all of the things that you actually get to do in an organization that you operate on. How do I say that? You have to have closeness with the boss that you're working. If there are issues, you need to resolve it in a very amicable manner. If you have customer demands that needs to be settled immediately, then you have to find ways, because at the end of the day, it's the company that sustains you. The company needs your proactive capabilities to be able to overcome the difficulties. The companies are looking for solutions. The companies are not looking simply for complaints or things or reasons that will say that this is really trying to slow you down. So it has to be two-way. The company has a role or your boss has a role, but you also have to realize that we as employees also have a role to be able to come up with that, what is the most advantageous thing for the environment that you actually get to operate on.
Yeah. Charlie, thank you so much for that. And Charlie and even Penny, in your last few statements, you actually both answered a question that was chatted to me directly just about a minute and a half ago. And the question was, what is the impact of gratitude in the workplace? And if I heard you correctly, Charlie, you were talking about how gratitude or being grateful should allow you to be more purposeful in your work, allows you to be more focused on being a better employee, being more productive. And Penny, you talked about being more proactive, being more purposeful, being more self-aware, and developing an environment of constant communications between yourself and your bosses. So, Charlie and Penny, I thank you so much for those insights, because that question really maps to, I guess, Charlie, something that's very close to your heart as someone who delivers to the bottom line of your client companies. How is gratitude contributing to profitability? How is gratitude contributing to the bottom line? And how is gratitude helping a company meet its bottom line metrics? So thank you, Charlie, and thank you, Penny. We have a number of questions that were thrown in the chat and also forwarded, but let me just stick to my script first, if I may. I'm asking the permission of our audience, because although Charlie did allude to this when he talked about best Chick-fil-A, but the next question is, and I'm going to forward the slide, could you share very briefly what best practices, Charlie and Penny, have you seen at the workplace? Not necessarily yours, because you already have demonstrated and shared that, but perhaps in some other companies, in some of your clients, some of the companies you collaborate with. And based on your observation, how has these helped improve the metrics of the organization? Charlie?
Yeah, I think the most important part in really manifesting appropriate gratitude is making sure that the boss of the organization and the subordinate or the employee will need to be in the right level of engagement. What am I saying here? We have different roles to perform. We have different pressures to overcome with. When we saw that, and especially in our area where it's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of stress. Companies or employees would normally do the convenient thing of resigning. But even if they leave the company, they'll find out that where they actually got to after resigning is basically the same thing. So we institutionalized one thing. We said, if we are going to be successful and we are going to create the shareholder value of our company, what can we actually get to do? Because employees right now are very different, June. Before, when we were looking for jobs, what we were looking for was money. Like we want to get good money, good jobs, good title. Those were the things that we were actually looking for. But right now it's different. When I interview people, I ask them, what are you looking for? The answer that they give to me is not money. The answer that they give to me is work and life balance. I said, we only have work here, but we don't have any balance. I try to make a joke out of it. Ano bang gusto mo, trabaho o gusto mo balance? But because there's a lot of jobs, the reason why we're hiring, because there's a lot of job to do. But seriously, when I saw that if they're going to become part of or become team members, the reason what they're trying to shift their company is simply very simple. The reason what they're trying to, because they want to achieve their goals. And one of the goals that they wanted to achieve is hindi masyadong stress. People now, they go for their objectives, but they're trying to manage that stress level, and they're trying to build resilience into it. And one of the things that many employees or many people are looking right now, including me, is well-being. Health, being healthy, and having a work-life balance. So if a company is not looking into that, there's gonna be a problem. So not all companies could easily adapt and cater and provide that particular environment. If you are working with a multinational company, they have very structured way to address that, and they have more money to fork in. But you have to realize, if you're working with a startup, you're working with an SME, with a local company, you have to contend with some of the difficulties of that particular company. It's not going to be a walk in the park. So you have to make the choice. If you are moving into that type of industry or that size of a company, then you have to be. So even smaller companies could really re-engineer the way they actually operate. If they cannot pay higher salaries, maybe one of the things that you should do is like you create an environment that employees are going to be comfortable. June, when I have employees, I want them to be seated in the office as early as possible in the office. That was my mindset before. Right now, I have employees who doesn't even come to the office, and they refuse to come to the office, June. And I have to swallow my pride. I have to accept that request from my employees. And because it's more expensive to hire another person and to retrain them again. I have to be practical, June. But I want to give a culture in the organization that they're happy, and they're very happy, and they won't leave you. It's different. It's difficult to do it, but especially if you're a not so big multinational company, you need to do things that doesn't even cost you any money at all. But you have to make the right adjustment in how to actually motivate and align your workforce appropriately.
So
Iba na ngayon.
Charlie, mahirap yun, Charlie, huh? But from what I'm hearing from you, what you're saying is that a company and its leadership needs to be really purposeful and determined to include a positive work environment that will foster gratitude as part of their corporate culture agenda, di ba? So it's not all the bottom line metrics, because I think what we've learned as well, Charlie, is that the metrics or the financials will follow if people are engaged, people are grateful, and there's a positive work environment. And I think, Penny, you probably agree on that as well, because I know that Penny has been in the human resource practice for decades now. So thank you for that, Charlie. And Penny, let me throw this question to you. What best practices have you seen at the workplace, and how do you think they can help improve the metrics?
Okay, before you share the slides, June, I'd like to answer what I'd like to add to what Charlie mentioned.
Okay.
The grass is not always greener at the other side of the fence. We always say that mas maganda doon kasi for whatever reason, but it's not always greener at the other side of the fence. And if it's greener, maybe because that the person who's on the other side of the fence is watering the grass more often.
That's right.
Right? That's
Yeah.
right. So what do we need to do to be able to water our grass to make it even more green compared to the other side? So it is for the leadership to be able to bring that culture of understanding what the employee needs and understanding what will make people stay. And gratitude is one of those things that would help them make people stay. Simple things like saying, it's one of my tips, but I'll I'll, I'll do it now. No, just saying thank you, just saying how are you today. It's pre-pandemic, walang kamustahan, hindi uso yan. Diretso trabaho usapan. Pero ngayon, when everything was online, we had Jamboards, we have Mentimeters, and kamustahan is the very first one. How are you today? How was your weekend? What did you do during the weekend? And just having 15 minutes of an employee's time by saying, no work discussion, just life discussion. And that makes the employee feel more important, more appreciated, more feeling that he's not just a number, a badge number, and a head count number, but a real employee in the workplace.
Yeah.
So if you can go to the next slide, June,
Okay.
and just one more. Okay. So how does gratitude improve productivity in the workplace? So I have here some of the things that I do ask myself, and I've done this with others as well. So I did say positive side of work. Be lucky that you have work. Now, if you don't have work and you feel bad about it, there's a reason. The best is yet to come. You just have to think about that. The best is yet to come. So what have you learned today when you're already there at the workplace, whether it's good or it's bad that happened to you today? I'm sure that there is something that you've learned today. What's in store for you in the future? Yes, there is a future, even if the workplace or your boss throws rocks at you. And I always say, when life throws you with a T. So it's so hard, no? But there is a future. I like what Steve Jobs said. You cannot connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect the dots looking backward. I always say that to myself as well. You know this, I've lost my job before. Was not regularized, and it was so hard for me because I was the breadwinner of the family. But looking back at losing my job, it was perhaps one of the best things that happened to me. Now, continue with the questions. What can you give to others? It's not all about you. It's what you can give to others, and how can you help others as well. I have a baller band here, just showing to everyone. I have a baller band here. And this was given to me by a friend of mine in the US. And it says others. It reminds me that life is not about me alone. It's about others as well. So the last bullet here is appreciate others. Learn to appreciate others. A simple thank you to Kuya, the janitor, or the person who gave you coffee. Salamat po. It's not always it's their job. You don't say thank you anymore. Say thank you. Say thank you to your staff. Say thank you to people who have done good to you.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's just opening the door, say thank you. And that will make them feel appreciated. And that will make them stay.
Yeah.
Because you treat them as human beings.
Yeah. In fact, Penny, just what you said in the last couple of minutes was actually mentioned by someone in the chat. I think that's Ed Hewitt, who said a simple thank you will actually do. So thank you for reinforcing that as well, Penny. You may not be aware of this, Charlie and Penny, but through your answers, what we did was we actually navigated through first, what can you do personally to create, to foster, and develop more of an attitude of gratitude. And then you started to talk about what leaders and organizational leadership should do to develop the right atmosphere, to encourage and to actually highlight gratitude. And then you went back to what we should be doing at the personal level, no? Things that are within our control. So there seems to be a dynamic tension there, so that one actually feeds on the other. Thank you, Charlie, and thank you, Penny. And there's a couple of questions here. Uh, is there a downside to gratitude in the workplace? And maybe I'll throw this again to Charlie before I throw it to Penny. Charlie, may downside daw bang gratitude? You're on mute, Char.
When there is a situation that we have to hurdle when we were going through with our gratitude, because gratitude is not just a 1.5 hour type of activity that we do. We always say that it's our way of life. Respect for others, being positive, being cooperative, being transparent, being ethical, being dynamic. Those are the values that come into place. Sometimes it can boomerang to us also. Sometimes people would challenge because we are caught in a situation, then we actually get to push very hard individuals and our team members to really stretch more than what they're actually giving. And sometimes people will challenge you. I thought we were here for being I would say more forgiving to those who cannot really cope up with the job. May mga situation naman ganun eh. And sometimes we have to pause for a while and really rethink how our approach is going to be. But duty tells us that we also need to make sure that we do a few things. And those are 3 things that we would like to share here. Very important is really communicate, to everybody, because we run a weekly sales and operations plan. We told ourselves that if we tell companies and we in our consulting engagement, we really endorse what we mean by sales and operations plan. We actually have to be doing it to ourselves also. So we have to instill discipline within the company. There are people that are not going to cope up with that, especially when the numbers are flashed in, the deliverables are actually mapped out to each and every KPI line item. But we still need to connect with those people who cannot make it, because these people needs work, needs reconsideration, and needs some coaching. And the other thing that we actually get to really reinforce is we need to engage them. I saw a comment here about impartiality. May mga taong magagaling, may mga taong hindi magaling. So, and hindi lahat pwede bida sa company. They can, if you have all employees, all outstanding, then you have big trouble, right? And they will not be staying in the company. So we get a mix of people who has special expertise in different areas. So those are the 3 things that we normally get to look into when we are faced, with the downside of being, grateful or endorsing what we mean by gratitude. It's really communication to realign everybody. It's really connecting, and I use the word intimacy. Kasi you can never just say good things about a person. Mabuti ka, mahusay ka, salamat sa ginawa mong ito. They expect it from you. But that is first level. Second level has to be more sincere. Yung tipo ba talagang babarkadahin mo yung mga employees ngayon or yung mga colleagues mo ngayon? Hindi naman sa sobrang barkada. I just use the word barkada, but you need to have professional intimacy. That you can see eyeball to eyeball and say, it's like, yeah, we have a difficult scenario right now. We need to make this thing happen. But if we make this thing happen, everybody would be grateful and will share the benefits of what we are able to accomplish. And that's the 3rd thing that I wanted to share with you. Communication, connection, but the 3rd thing is really engagement. Leaders has to be well engaged, and it's not only the role of the leaders, it's the role of the subordinates, it's the role of everybody. You need to engage your boss. If the boss is not responding appropriately to your needs and difficulties, then maybe it's the wrong boss that you have in the organization. So 3 things: communication, having the right connection or intimacy, which I call professional intimacy, and the 3rd thing is really having a proper engagement. And it has to be healthy. It has to be nurtured in a way that it defines the values that you want to have.
So Charlie, what you're really saying is tinatrabaho ito. This is not something that you just, you close your eyes and hope that it will happen. What you're saying is on both sides of the coin, whether you're the people leader or you're the subordinate or the direct report, both of you have to be working on these three areas in order to get to where you want to be in terms of meeting the metrics, but creating within that context of professional intimacy. Is that correct, Charlie?
Yes, that's very important. And sometimes we lose sight on that. We always
Mm,
think about our KPIs, right?
yeah, yeah,
When you evaluate things, you look at KPIs. There are winners, there are losers who's going to meet or not meet the KPIs. But if you have that attachment, that professional attachment and sincerity from the individual, even if that person fail, you will not blame that person. You will
right,
even help that person more to succeed.
right.
In one aspect, people wanted to leave me during the pandemic. Then
Mhm.
we had to really sit down and say, is that what you really want to do? Do you think it's really the end of things for this particular area, or there are things that we can do together to even bounce back to where we hope we could actually be? People realize that they can see it through you, whether you have the passion, the excellence, and the way to enable it is going to be that you can make things happen for the group. Makikita yan in
Mhm.
your own action. You know what, June, before, I never allow our employees to connect me in Facebook. But as I actually develop intimacy with them, everybody of them are connected to me on my Facebook. So they know exactly what I'm eating during lunchtime, evening, and breakfast. That thing connects you properly to these
Right,
employees. Alam nila tao ka rin eh. Di ba?
right,
And
right,
you have your own difficulty and your successes in many areas.
right.
I By doing that, I just felt a little bit more open and transparent to them. And that really builds intimacy. Just
Yeah,
to share, medyo
that's
naiiwan tayo
nice.
pero
That's nice. That's very nice, Charlie. So Charlie, bukas titignan ko anong breakfast mo ha. Ah,
Hingi ka ba, Charlie,
hingi,
ah?
hingi kami. I'm just
pero
gonna pick,
honestly lang,
yeah,
yun talaga, yung mga things that you do that are unconventional are those that are seen as appreciated by everybody in the company. Hindi
right.
lang, kahit na yung co-workers mo, it doesn't have to be your subordinate. Pero iba yung nasa KPI, iba yung nasa turnaround time, di ba? Depende rin sa understanding mo that, maaring ma-miss niya yung turnaround time, pero he knows that he exerted enough effort to keep
Yeah,
or to meet that
yeah.
deliverable. Yun ang point ko doon.
Maganda nga yung sinabi mo kanina, Charlie, because you said when someone is not meeting his or her metrics, maybe the person needs coaching. Maybe the
Yeah.
person needs help. And that can only come out of professional intimacy being cultivated. So that's excellent. It's still keeping your eyes on the KPI, but understanding what could be this person needing in terms of help to help deliver the KPI. So that's wonderful. I'll just pick off one question from the chat, and it's the last because after that, I'm going to have to throw a question for both of you to wrap up our webinar. And the question, I'll throw it to you first, Penny, then I'll throw it to Charlie. Does faking it until you make it, does that work now in gratitude? Fake it until you make it? Does that work, Penny?
Fake it until you make it.
Yep.
Faking gratitude until you
Yeah.
make it.
Yeah, I guess if you're not
I
maybe if you're not a naturally grateful person, you just keep faking it until hopefully you'll develop the attitude. Pwede bang mangyari yon?
think if there is a sincere desire to make it, you can make it.
Okay.
Pero if you're really faking it na talagang visit na buhay to, visit na trabaho to, sorry for the words, I hate my boss, pero nakangiti ka, yan. Pero
Okay.
minumura mo ta pala siya. Hindi na, I don't think that
Okay.
will really work. It's
Okay.
just, you have to feel it to be able to make it.
So I guess you put your mind to it. Maybe it's not your second nature, but you put your mind to it. In that sense, you fake it kasi you probably are mindful and you recognize that it's important to be grateful. I will want to be grateful even though labag sa kalooban ko. But I'll do it.
Yeah, hindi mo second nature pa.
Hindi mo siya second nature. Okay. Okay. Thank you. So I guess to you the answer is yes, you can develop that. How about you, Charlie? Any thoughts on that question?
Yung ano ko, that's a good question, and that's a very difficult question also.
Yeah.
Um, I'll give you a story. We were doing this gratitude for 3 years na. Sometimes pagod na ako every Friday. Sometimes may appointment ako on Friday. One time I started to skip it and I thought my team will also skip it. Though okay lang, because if I'm not available, they will not also attend. But something happened that I felt guilt by not doing it. I realized that my team were still doing it without me, that our gratitude program. So it made me feel a little bit guilty na maybe my intention of keeping it is for an advantage for the company. But the team that I have didn't look at it that way. They find it as a great venue to interrelate with their colleagues in the company, to learn something that is brand new for them, and for them to ventilate and put their concerns on the table, and for them to pray together and intercede for those types of difficulties that they have in their life. Kasi tinatanong ko, may nag-attend ba? Sir, kumpleto, ikaw lang ang wala. It's, and I feel guilt about it, di ba? And I realized that if you really believe on what you're doing, you have to be genuine, at the very start and until the end, because your actions, your mannerisms, your words are going to affect those people who tend to follow you as a as a leader. And sometimes it's not only the leader, because the ones who really leads them are not the leader in itself, it's their colleagues. The reason why they keep on doing it, because they believe that the person beside him is doing it for the greater good. So my answer to that is like, it doesn't work if you fake it until everybody gets to say, okay, we're making it because we initially did not believe, but right now we seem to overcome that particular hurdle. So babalik tayo doon. Being genuine is having professional intimacy.
Okay.
May usapan kayo that you're going to make this a success.
Okay. Thank you, Charlie. That's a very important, should we say, an essential part of being sincere with gratitude. And that is to really desire it, and that is to really want it, no? And to be consistent. As a matter of fact, just going back to your example of the exercise at your workplace. Well, as they say, even all good things must come to an end. But I'm not going to let our two panelists, say good night or good day to you without giving their last 1 or 2 minute parting shots. It could be that what you will say, and I'll just move the slide, advice, tip, or guides could be something that you've already referred to in the last 40 minutes. But please, I'll turn over to Charlie first, and then to Penny. Last 1 or 2 minute message on gratitude. Charlie?
Yeah, I talked to a couple of CEOs of very large companies right now, and they did a survey. And one of the things that they found out was that people are more concerned because of the uncertainty that everybody is facing. What is this uncertainty? Inflation, job losses, keeping up with the times is quite very challenging these days. So a lot of things will really develop depending on how the situations are going to happen. War, calamities, economic considerations that are not going to our way of what we want to actually see. So all I can say is like everybody has to be braced up. Everybody has to be conscious, but everybody has to be thankful enough that we are still living in good order and in good times. I think we need to be positive, in a lot of things, because we are still enjoying. Can you just imagine what's happening in Turkey right now, or Syria? Can you just imagine what's happening in Ukraine? So as people gets more depressed and more people are getting into mental health issues or challenges, we need to reinforce each other, in the company. And you need to have a program, that is going to address that. Hindi puro trabaho. You need to inject more coaching. You need to inject more engagement of the people that works into it. Mahirap yung wardi-wardi na tinatawag. Ano yung wardi-wardi na terminology ko? Hindi pwedeng basta-basta na lang you are going to ensure that there's harmony, there's peace, there are values formation, there are good things that you all cooperate with. You need to make it as a way of life in your company. The leader has to set the tone at the top, and they have to really practice it. Hindi pwede yung pwede na. We need to create all of the efforts, because at the end of the day, people will succeed and stay in the company if they feel great, on that particular environment and their contribution and the like. So that's my parting words, June. Professional intimacy, having the right program, and you have to walk the talk and really see that everybody is humming to the same direction.
Thank you so much, Charlie. Thank you. Penny, over to you.
Okay, so thank you, June. No? That one. So Charlie talked about being grateful, practicing gratitude in the workplace as a leader. I'd like to, my parting words as an individual. You don't have to be at the workplace to start practicing gratitude. You can start with you. So begin each day with a grateful heart. Start each day with gratitude. When I wake up in the morning, I always say, thank you, Lord, for waking me up. Because some people die in their sleep. I'm grateful for this day that I have. So many of us complain about so many things in life, but you choose gratitude over complaint. I talked about practicing uncommon appreciation, saying thank you to many people at the workplace. And it starts with you thanking yourself for what you are and being able to say, I appreciate myself. I appreciate what I have done. I have become. And remember, your thoughts become reality. So if your thoughts are always negative, those things may happen. Baka magka-COVID ako, baka magkasakit ako, baka, those things. Whatever you think may happen nga. One last story. My first tattoo, and I'm a senior citizen. My first tattoo, I had a very first tattoo after I turned senior. And my first tattoo is something here in my arm. And what does it say? Gratitude. This is not henna. This is permanent tattoo. So it says gratitude. So I always think of, what am I grateful for today? I begin my day writing in my gratitude journal. I begin my day saying thank you. I begin my day like you, attending mass, online mass lang nga. And I end my day looking at what have I been grateful for today. So be grateful starts with you. It doesn't have to start with the company. It starts with you.
Mhm.
Next slide, June.
Wait. I think your slide said good night. Okay, there you go.
Yeah. So my latest book was launched on Amazon. It's the book on gratitude with 29 other authors. And I'm writing my 5th book. It's about gratitude as well. So as a way of, pwede na ba, June?
Pwede na?
As a way of POWERinU, remember I'm a director of POWERinU as well. Thanking everyone in this webinar for participating. You will be given a free ebook. My 3rd book, which I wrote during the pandemic, Forward Shift, Managing Your Life at the Time of a Pandemic, guidance from mentors and coaches from around the world, which includes Jack Canfield, my mentor, author of Chicken Soup for the Soul, and Brother Bo Sanchez, of course, founder of Light of Jesus. So, and includes people from all over the world, including Filipinos and Europeans, Asians, and Americans, of course. So thank you for joining us today and listening to Charlie, me, and facilitated by June. So thank you very much.
What an amazing evening. And maybe I invite everyone to just give a round of virtual applause to our panelists, Charlie Villaseñor and Penny Bongato. Thank you very much for such an evening that is filled with gratitude at the workplace. And so you don't miss out. Please subscribe at powerinU.com.ph to get updates on events, webinars, and free resources from PowerINU and its partners. Lastly, everyone will have access to the recording of this webinar through PowerINU's website, Facebook page, and YouTube channel. And everyone who registered in this webinar will automatically get an invite to PowerINU's next webinar, complimentary as well, on March 2, and you can see it here. It will be called Jump Starting Your Leadership Career. Charlie, this is no stranger to you. Tonette Rivera will speak on leadership lessons he learned from 37 years of multinational and global leadership. He will speak on key lessons and concepts young leaders will need to launch them on a path to more senior leadership positions, and will end with insight into what senior global leaders look for when developing leadership talent. Participants will benefit from his insight and experiences on what it takes to rise to the very top of organizations. This is a tightly packed 1-hour discussion and will include Q&A. And please note that Tonette Rivera brings in 37 years of experience in leadership in logistics, manufacturing, procurement, supply planning, banking, and supply chain management. Kaya kaibigan po yan ni Charlie. He retired as the Chief Supply Chain Officer of Mead Johnson, responsible for supplying $4 billion in sales worldwide. Next announcement. It's your time to shine. Please pay attention, our dear webinar attendees. Are you or do you know anyone who is interested to showcase a short talk or presentation that will be delivered right here in one of PowerINU's complimentary webinars in 2023? Grab this opportunity to speak in one of PowerINU's complimentary webinars. The topic can be on leadership, management, business and personal development, presentation of 20 minutes maximum, and the speaker must own the right to the materials that will be presented or show that permission was granted to deliver any copyrighted materials. The criteria are there for speaker selection. Just email team@powerinU.com.ph. It's right there at the bottom to inquire. And before we officially end, we're going to ask you 10 seconds, please. Use this and scan for your QR code. We'd like to request your time to answer this short poll so we can get your feedback. And we appreciate your being here. Help us, please, improve our webinars in the future by receiving your feedback this evening. So once again, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Penny. And thank you to everyone for joining us in this webinar. And see you again on March 2. Thank you, everyone. Good day, good evening, good night.